All right, let's just dive right in. We're going to talk about a situation that, honestly, most of us have been in. A moment where we try to do the right thing, try to be helpful, but we actually end up making things worse. It's a simple interaction that shows just how much we misunderstand stuttering.
So be honest with yourself for a second. Have you ever been talking to someone who stutters and you've said something like this? You see them in that moment of struggle and your gut instinct is just to help them get out of it. And right there, that impulse, that well-meaning, good-hearted piece of advice is pretty much the most common and most counterproductive thing you can possibly do. It feels right, but it's not. So why? Why is that such a mistake?
Let's really break this down. Let's look at why that piece of advice we think is so helpful actually hurts, and what's really going on in that moment of stuttering.
Okay, think about this. The second you tell someone to relax or slow down, you've basically put a giant spotlight on their speech. You're adding this immense pressure to perform, to speak the right way. And that just amps up all their internal tension, making it so much harder to get the words out. It's the struggle to not stutter that becomes the real problem. This brings us to this perfect analogy, the finger trap paradox. You know those little woven toys, right? The harder you pull and struggle to get your fingers out, the tighter the trap gets. Stuttering is exactly like that. The more a person fights against a block, trying to force a word out, the more tension builds up and the worse the block becomes. Your advice to just relax is like telling them to pull harder. It just tightens the trap.
And that advice fails because, well, it's based on a complete and total misunderstanding of what stuttering actually is. It has absolutely nothing to do with being nervous or shy or anything like that.
So if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. Stuttering is not a psychological problem. It's not in their head. It is a neurodevelopmental difference. It's biological. It's rooted in the way the brain developed and how it coordinates the incredibly complex process of talking. And the science behind this it's just fascinating. We now know there's a huge genetic link. It's highly inheritable, with some estimates over 80%. Researchers have even identified specific genes involved. A great way to think of it is like a little traffic jam in the brain's timing system for speech. And that anxiety you sometimes see, that's almost always a result of how people react to the stutter, not the cause of it. That's so important. So let's just lay it all out side by side. The myth is that it's caused by nerves. The fact? It's neurobiology. The myth is that it somehow reflects intelligence. The fact? Absolutely zero correlation. None. And that other common helpful thing, finishing their sentence for them, the reality is you're just taking away their voice and piling on more pressure. Now, to truly understand the experience of stuttering, you have to look way beyond what you can see and hear. And honestly, the best way I know to do that is with the stuttering iceberg analogy. The part of stuttering that we as listeners actually see, the part that's sticking out above the water, is only about 10% of the entire experience, just a tiny fraction. And this is the part we're all familiar with, right? The blocks, where the sound just feels stuck, the repetitions of sounds or words, and the prolongations, where a sound gets stretched out. These are the mechanical parts we can see and hear, but it's just the tip of the iceberg.
Because the real story, the overwhelming bulk of the experience, is the other 90%, the massive, hidden part of that iceberg that's lurking beneath the surface. And you know what? Our reactions as listeners often make that hidden part even bigger.
And this is the immense emotional weight of it all. The fear of even opening your mouth, the shame and embarrassment from years of negative reactions, that constant churning anxiety about which words are going to trip you up. This leads to things like word avoidance, literally ordering a different food because the name is easier to say, or in some cases, just withdrawing from social life altogether. Okay, so after hearing all that, the big question is, what can I actually do to help? And the great news is, it's incredibly simple. It's not complicated at all. It all comes down to one simple, powerful idea: patience. Your patience is a superpower in these conversations. It costs you absolutely nothing, but to the person speaking, it means the world. Your calm presence can literally shrink that hidden 90% of the iceberg. So here's your practical guide. What to do. Maintain normal, natural eye contact, just like you would with anyone else. Wait patiently for them to finish their thought in their time. Focus on what they're saying, not how they're saying it. And on the don't side, Please don't look away or interrupt. Don't finish their sentences. And for sure, don't offer that advice we started with. Seriously, your calm, patient attention is the best gift you can give.
When it all comes down to it, this isn't just about learning tips for a conversation. It's about making a fundamental shift in perspective, a total reframing of what it means to communicate.
I mean, this says everything, doesn't it? When you're talking to someone, your goal isn't to fix them or diagnose them. It's to connect with them. When you make the person and their message the priority, way more important than the method of delivery, you create this safe space where real connection can actually happen.
Because that's all it is. It isn't wrong. It isn't a character flaw. It is simply a different way of speaking, another beautiful part of human diversity. And once you really get that, choosing to be a patient, inclusive listener, well, it becomes the most natural thing in the world.
So, with International Stuttering Awareness Day coming up on October 22nd, I want to leave you with this question. You now have the knowledge and the tools to be a truly fantastic listener, a great ally. The next step is to pass it on. Who in your life really needs to hear this?